Aloha, friends. Hi, Jennifer. How you doing today?
Hi, Michaela. I am good. I am good. Looking forward
Awesome.
to today
Great.
immensely.
Welcome, everybody, to our series on the 10 precepts of creativity. We've had some pretty awesome last 6 weeks, and we've been getting some pretty awesome feedback, too, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And it's interesting to see how different the feedback is, yet very similar in some of the themes. So it's great. The message is getting out there and people are actually hearing and integrating what we're teaching, and that's so awesome. People are taking the tools and using them.
Yes, and going back to the very beginning, knowing that we all are energy and everything is connected. It's interesting how much in terms of creative leadership has been coming to me. I've been meeting and like either running into people that are completely in their center, that are balanced, that are moving forward and doing their stuff, and they're talking about it. A lot more people locally, I find, are talking. It's like they're coming out of the woodwork, and everybody is talking about the energy, the connectiveness, the divinity. And
Awesome.
it's interesting. I didn't realize I was going to be jumping into this, but a lot of people have been struggling with the God word and the spiritual words and stuff like that. And people on a podium are actually apologizing for bringing it up, yet knowing how necessary it is to bring it up. And that's something that we're going to get into today with our creativity. Number 7, which is a receptive mind blossoms fast.
Very good. Very
And
good. Very good.
and you know, Jennifer just told me to tell you all something, and I think I forgot what it was.
Then as soon as you said it, you forgot it. So you actually had to write it down as you were saying it. And it was such a brilliant and concise and simple description of sometimes our self-sabotage is that simple, where we say something and then it's lost. Like, what did I say? I know it was important because it's like our I don't want to hear that, and we get things clamped over our ears, and that's it. So it was brilliant to me, and it just made me laugh. Like, oh, I know that one. I know
Did you know that studies show that when people walk through door frames, that they forget what is on their mind? And
Fascinating.
how many of us are always beating ourselves up saying, I came into this room for something and I forgot what it was? It's
Uh-huh.
studies show it doesn't matter what the age is, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a vortex happens when you walk through. It's like a thing that you walk through, and it's a shield that suddenly you're in a different space and thinking about something new. And that all goes back to mindfulness, all the stuff that
Yes.
we've been talking about, just keeping yourself centered and open and within your space.
And
Yeah.
holding on very loosely to the way that we define ourselves so that we can actually find humor in our humanity. Because I know that for my own self, when I start taking myself too seriously, I start grabbing onto things, onto identities, onto mindsets, onto beliefs that it has to be this way. And it goes back to me taking it too seriously. So it's like, just lighten up and let it be, let it grow, let it breathe.
Jennifer, that reminds me of something.
Mm.
Has there been a kid thing you ever taught, and how old you were?
Oh.
And you know what? I'm going to give you a chance to think about it because I'll give you mine. All right. I was 16 years old. I had gotten my certification to be a swimming teacher, and my first job, other than babysitting, was my first real job with the W-2 and everything was to be a swimming teacher. So I've been a teacher my whole life. It doesn't matter what I've been teaching. I've been teaching something. And it's very funny because at that time, I had a team teacher back then too. Wow, Carol Drainville, she was my team teacher. We taught swimming together. That's amazing. And the kids that were older were harder to teach. And I remember going through different classes with different kids. We love the kinder swim and the baby swims because the kids would catch on to it. The toddlers would catch on very quickly. But the older kids, the 8-year-olds, the 10, the 12-year-olds, they were a lot harder because they already had preconceived notions, and that fear had set in. And we used to talk about who was coachable.
Ooh.
Way back then, when I was a teenager, we'd say, "Oh yeah, that kid's just not coachable."
Uh-huh.
And as I get older and started, I know that there were many things that held me back when I was learning windsurfing. I remember somebody saying that about me about when I was getting into the intermediate. I went, wow, I'm holding myself back. This isn't that hard. I just need to relax and open up and be receptive and let it flow. And it's funny because I was surrounded. There were very few women. There were some women that were around me windsurfing as well, but most of them were men. And men like to scare themselves. Men were out there, and when they got angry, they'd get angry and they'd hit something like a bull in a china closet. When I'd get angry, I would like throw stuff down, walk away, and abandon it. Mm-hmm. And I realized as I was starting to look around, wow, I can take that anger and I can use it that flip side. It's creativity. It's just being open. I'm angry because I'm frustrated because I'm holding myself back because I'm putting my own walls up. What I need to, and once I recognized that, and then cleared it out and went back to ground zero, as we've talked about in past weeks, all of a sudden, bam, there I am in the harness flying off on a wave. And Excellent. You go, oh, wow, you know what? It is. We just have to get out of our own way.
Yes.
But it was that coachable moment. And I asked you that question to see if you remembered the first time you taught, and if you recognized that in your students or whoever it was you might have been tutoring, whether that person you were tutoring or giving some sort of a lesson to might be holding themselves back with their own attitude.
Well, it's a fascinating question, and I am actually going to defer answering because for me to answer that question will take a couple of hours because of the label of teacher is one that I have not identified with until recently because it simply was who I was. I would learn something and I would share it. So thank you for the example. Thank you for the questions because you have started an interesting chain of events in my head. So thank you.
That's great. Well, it's true. A lot of it has to do with how we perceive ourselves.
Yes.
And again, that goes back to the receptive mind.
Yes, because from an early age, I can remember, and it's a feeling. It's not an actual memory. It's a feeling, and I can feel it start in my throat. I was told people didn't want to hear what I had to say. I was a touch on the precocious side. I know.
No,
hard to imagine.
I'm not saying that sarcastically either. I wouldn't have expected that from you.
I've always had a very interesting perspective on life, and my body still remembers being told, don't say that. People don't want to hear. What do you know? You're only 3. And that's the one that resonates in my body the most. So for me to say I'm a teacher is a double-edged sword, very much a double-edged sword for me. So that's where so much of my work has been done to be able to speak my truth because it had been clamped down on from a very early age because of other people's fear of what was coming out of my mouth. So, long story boiled down into an, oh my God, and you're giving her a microphone.
Oh, you know what? I went like this because just yesterday, when you mentioned the 3-year-old, so often, this is another thing that we judge ourselves at. We don't think that a 3-year-old has any sense. But I don't know if you saw a few years ago this picture going around social media about how gum kills birds. And there was a picture of a bird, that was fallen over and everything. I don't know. It was one of those things that, are you familiar with Snopes.com?
Yes.
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 Snopes.com, for those of you who don't know it, is a myth-busting website. And supposedly, and for the longest time, every time I saw one of these crazy things that looked like a room, the chain to run to Snopes.com, I would look what they had to say about it, and then I'd say, that's a myth, that's busted, that's not true, blah, 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 whatever. And I remember doing that a couple of years ago with the gum kills birds. And then I saw, just a few days ago, a video that somebody took of a hummingbird that was stuck on a wad of old gum. And it would have died if nobody had helped it. And the person was, and there was a 3-year-old giving this running commentary through it. What's the matter? Oh, is he stuck? He is stuck. Oh, that's terrible. And I was going on, and I posted it with, hey, even a 3-year-old has the sense. And then I used, within my blog posts, I talked about how, I was actually kind of proud of myself to be busting the Mythbuster with a 3-year-old, no less.
Yes.
So,
yes.
we go back, and it's about being receptive, and it's about being receptive to everything. We Americans, we love to point a finger, we love to fight, we love to be angry, we love to laugh at people who get angry, and we get so caught up in that stuff. And then when we get angry, we either feel really self-righteous or we get really embarrassed that we had the outburst. There are so many emotions that we as humans get so wrapped up in.
Yes.
And when we can just relax and let it go, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The being receptive part. I love that. I absolutely love it. And it goes back to being able to look at the basics through another set of eyes. Mm-hmm. Being able to look at, okay, so going back to the basics doesn't necessarily mean going backwards.
Right. Jennifer, it's a little bit interesting. You're going to love today because all of these months that we've been getting together, remember the time I got you with the tomato plant?
Yes.
And you were talking about wanting to do things fast.
Yeah.
Having to give time, and throughout this creative series as well, we've been talking about giving things time to grow and time to cultivate and everything. Well, there's also a time to do stuff too. You got to do stuff, and you've got to move fast. Screen share right now and show you that I was thinking and really laughing about it today because. Today, I'm actually going to agree with you. Okay, we've got the 10 precepts of creativity, tapping the creative force for any goal. This is what we've been doing all week. And you know what, I'm going to flip back. We may come back to these today. I wanted to just give this to everybody, people who haven't seen it. These are all of the precepts that we've gone through so far. Today is number 7. A receptive mind blossoms fast. What are those sayings that we've heard? Money loves speed? Is that one of them?
I have never heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard that one? Okay. The marketers love to say that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to tattle on Jennifer right now. And she's going to love it. Because just before we went on air, she told me that she gave herself a deadline of 72 hours to launch for a new product. Then she laughed and said that she didn't make her goal. And I said, well, how long did it take you? And she said, a week and a day. And I thought, you know what, that's not much over 72 hours when you stop and think about it, really. So you were actually quite close, and a heck of a lot closer than most of the population on this planet would ever get to doing something like that. And so speed is good. A receptive mind does blossom fast. I've been using talking a lot about patience in the past, and cultivating and tilling the land of your creative juices, and putting one foot in front of the other and getting your steps going. But all of these small little steps of clearing your space, preparing your space, and allowing things to rise up from that space, from your mind, from your heart, always bringing stuff up. It's the same as a plant. If you water a plant and you give it the sun that it needs and the cultivation that it needs, it's going to produce fruit very fast. 2 and 3 months is not a very long time. It's actually a very fast time when we look at it in the scheme of things, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And your analogy with the preparing the soil is beautiful. When you consider the products that the Academy creates all have to do with removing the blocks, removing the rocks that are in your soil, and you till it up, and you find where the rocks are, you apply these tools, you break the rocks down, and you have this incredibly fertile ground that is then the receptive field, the receptive mind to allow the things that you plant to grow amazingly fast. Yes.
Right. Getting back to coachable. Every teacher who has ever stood in front of a class knows who the coachable students are and who are the ones that are going to get it, and the others that get in their way. Get in their own way, not in the teacher's way.
Right. Yeah. Teacher's going to do what the teacher needs to do, and whether the students get it or not is entirely up to them.
And a lot of times we don't realize that that we in fact do not have a receptive mind. And I say we because we all have it. Even the most creative of us have our blocks because we allow it. We allow ourselves to get wrapped up in our emotions, all the stuff that we've been talking about so far. So what we want to do when we talk about a receptive mind, we're also talking about a mind that mirrors what it is you want rather than criticize what you don't want. Because whenever you're practicing something, again, practicing an instrument or writing or exercising, the more you do it and the more you practice those little habits and tweak those little habits, the better you're going to get at it. That's how you become that's how you become, that's how you hone your craft. That's how you hone your craft. And people don't realize that when they're criticizing what they don't want, they're actually tweaking and honing the craft of getting what they don't want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because you're giving energy to the thing that you don't want.
Yes.
And the thing that you do want becomes a shadow of that don't want.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Instead of the other way around.
Exactly. I'm going to, this is a very short one, Receptive Mind Blossoms Fast. I will go back to the exercises that I have at the end, but I just thought, it's easier if we're chatting with each other.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Coachability is a very big one. And when you are constantly, you're not creative, you're telling yourself, you are reinforcing that belief system, and you're reinforcing that discipline of, wow, yep, I really am not creative. Nope, I'm not at all. So it's a matter of saying, you know, what it is that you want, what it is you're looking for. The interesting thing about spirituality, and all of this goes back to spirituality, all of it. Many people are afraid to bring that up because we have, especially here in America, because here in America we have such a diversity of cultures and a diversity of belief systems and diversity of religions that a lot of people don't. A lot of people will fight each other within the language when they realize that it's actually just language. It's just language and how we're communicating. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. And I'll give you an example. Just today, I was a friend of mine who was giving a presentation, and he talked about meditation. And he began by saying, okay, I just want to say that whenever you're talking about spirituality, whenever you're talking about meditation and clearing your energy and moving forward to get yourself balanced, you need to bring in that point of spirituality. And I like to use the word God, but don't take that personally because a lot of people don't like the word God and everything. Immediately, a couple of people shot up their hand and said, you shouldn't use the word God. You should use the word divine force. And somebody else said, no, you shouldn't use that at all. You should use the inner essence. And suddenly there was this argument going on about what word to use. When the word is completely irrelevant, it's the fact that we're bringing our focus toward whatever that divine nature is for yourself. Because there's 7 billion people on the earth. There are 7 billion different attitudes as to what spirituality means. And it's going back to the heart and knowing that we're part of a whole, that we're part of something greater.
And it also goes back to the coachability thing. Because even though he said, you know, whatever you want to use is fine, there was still that instant fight, and no, it's got to be my way. You should do it this way. Like, oh, wow. So do you guys actually write down what just came out of your mouth? Because you may find some very interesting things in there for you.
You were not even there, and I was thinking that. You hit the nail right there on the head there, Jennifer. Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's really fascinating when we can step back and hear what comes out of our own mouth. And it's the same thing when we can start to, you know, practicing the mindfulness and doing these exercises, start to notice the thoughts that go on behind the surface. And okay, I hadn't intended to go here, but I guess I'm going to go here.
Go there.
My birthday is tomorrow. And I have the last few days, thank you, been inside. I know that, you know, that's a technical term, and I can define it later if anybody needs. I've got this launch that I had set up for myself of something that I unbelievably feel strongly about. But then there's also the whole, well, I want to be celebrated. It's my birthday, but I can't do that because I need to take care of the things that need to take care of. I need to be responsible and get these things done. But I want to just go out and play, and I want to go out to dinner, and I want to go out for drinks with my daughter. And all of this was going on in my head. And morning pages became my saving grace. I would get up and I would give them voice on the piece of paper. Okay, guys, what are you discussing today? I want to do this. Well, no, you need to do this. No, I should do this. By the time they were done, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Now I'm back on track. And in that writing, I got to see what was going on. I got to identify the emotions that were all tied up in there, and I got to see how they were stopping me. So what does this have to do with the precept of creativity? Because each one of those was this great big huge freaking boulder in my field that I was trying to till. And if I didn't take the time to stop and realize that, yes, I need to do my work. I need to find out what's in the soil that's keeping me from moving forward. Where are the minerals and deficiencies within the soil that are keeping things from growing? So it doesn't matter how far down the path you are, you just get to be a little bit more clear on what it is that you're doing. So I just wanted to share that with you and say I appreciate this series so much and your willingness to step out and share with us. So Michaela, thank you.
Oh, thank you too, Jennifer. That was so perfect. So many things went through my head as you just went that, and the first one is the fact that I have a great big lump in my throat because you are a Virgo. Yeah?
I'm a Libra.
You're a Virgo?
I'm a Libra.
Okay, all right. That takes away the. All right, that took away the lump. Thanks.
Oh, sure. No problem.
I thought.
No problem.
Well, no. Well, it's funny because I first thought
It's really close.
Libra, the balance, and then I thought, gosh, the Libra, the balance. I don't know that I even have. I don't think I know anybody besides you that is a Libra. You are, at least not good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely I love that. I'm Aries. I'm triple fire. I've been so good about firing, exploding out of the gate, and then fizzling out like a couple of yards down the road. So that's been a lot of my experience in my former life, as it were.
That's hilarious.
So now, it's funny that you're bringing it into balance with me. I was thinking Virgo because my mom was a Virgo.
Uh-huh.
She was her birthday was September 21st, which was just a few days ago. So you have a little bit of that Virgo energy too, I suppose.
Yes, Virgo
so
and Scorpio, which is very fascinating. So it makes it really confusing at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another little side note. Go ahead.
No, you do it because it was like we were talking about in the very beginning. You get so excited about one thing, you forget the other. It's like walking through. I just walked through a door frame.
Oh no. Okay. Well, while I talk, you go backwards. I even went to an astrologer friend of mine, and they did a reading for me, and he was talking about how even in my charts, because of the strong Scorpio aspects that I have, is that I have the ability to go into the deep, 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 dark places that people go and bring balance and bring them back up to see where the light side of it is. Like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Really distressing at times because I have no problem talking about death or sex or taxes or, all the other dark things that people tend to shuffle off to the side. It's like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. You're human. We can talk about all this. So anyway, you retraced your steps. You went back through the doorway. What did you find?
Childlike essence. Part of the receptive mind. I remember what it was. It was the Zen. Have you heard that Zen saying? A taut bow breaks. That's not exactly what it is. It's a bow that is always taut breaks. That's what it is.
And it is. I'm seeing if I can spell it correctly, because it's not. How would you spell it? Is it still the T-A-U-G-H-T, which means one who has been
No, but that's
instructed.
Very interesting. That's very interesting that because we've been talking about teaching and being taught. T-A-U-T.
Thank you. I couldn't come up with the spelling. Thank you.
Yes. And bow is bow. It's not bow. I almost said bow. The bow that is taught. You can tell I'm a sailor, so I think when I look at that, I see B-O-W. It's pronounced bow, not bow. And it goes back to the anxiety. Now we hold ourselves and we get tight, and a certain amount of stress is good. I think we've talked about this in the past too. The eustress, E-U. Stress. It's actually one word, eustress, which is a certain level of pressure that we need to focus. Our minds as humans are hardwired as an animal, because animals are hardwired to be on alert, to look for things that are problems that we can solve, or to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's nothing outside ourselves to fear, when there's nothing outside ourselves to really protect ourselves against, we make stuff up. We create them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of our problems come, where we get stuck. So when we can realize that if we, it's fine. You have the guitar with the perfectly aligned strings that make beautiful sound. You put too tight. I have broken strings doing that. It was a ukulele string I broke, and it wasn't. I didn't get it right. You get it too loose, it's going to just wobble around and get something. So it's finding that balance and really being open to it. And it brings it back to the childlike essence, because the child doesn't have a whole lot of baggage in their head. It's like when I said in the beginning, the young kids were so easy to teach swimming to, because they didn't realize they needed to be fearful of the water. They didn't see any fear in the water. They just saw it as a joyful thing that they were able to propel themselves through it. So it was the idea that, yes, I can do this, and I'm going to learn how to do it. It's being coachable, being trainable, having yourself open. The spirituality, you can show babies anything, you can show children anything, and they learn so fast. Old age decrepit brains, because I have a friend who's 80 years old, and I think she's on her 8th language now, Nepalese. She just started learning Nepalese a couple years ago, and she's really good at it. And here's a woman that speaks English fluently, so it never occurred to her that she couldn't learn it. So those, we don't need to put those limitations on ourselves. It encourages more blocks. Mm-hmm. So we need to be childlike. We need to remind ourselves of those childlike, or you can say childish. That has kind of a negative connotation in English, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Childish. But I kind of like it, because when we're childish, we're open and we're freer and we're creating that balance for ourselves.
Yes. And you were saying about anxiety and stress being good as long as it's propelling you forward, and like the guitar strings, if you tighten it too much, it breaks. And it's so very true, especially with our creativity as well. The stress is really good unless it's gotten to the point that it causes our systems to start to shut down. Because we do have that breaking point even within ourselves, where you pull something too tight and suddenly it's useless. So too much stress, too much awareness, too much anxiety, and suddenly you're so focused out there, there's nothing that has the ability to come up and flourish and grow. So it's fine, and it is that finding that balance, finding that point of enough pressure, enough stress to push it out of the ground, but not so much as to be a rock over top of it so that it dies out from lack of sunshine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And we were talking beforehand about this deadline that I had set for myself with the 72 hours, and you had asked me a very fascinating question. You asked me if I was giving up, how much sleep did I give up? Something to that effect, and it's actually...
We've talked about sleep in the past, haven't we? Boy, this is a big one.
It was exactly the opposite. In fact, yesterday I took 2 naps, and because I have been tired. This honoring of the process and honoring to what the timing, which is not my own, allowing it to grow as it needs to. So yesterday it meant taking 2 naps to rejuvenate and to allow ideas to come through when my conscious mind was somewhere else. And each time I woke up, I had a new breakthrough. So it's just fascinating how we assume that, because I did too. And I was thinking, well, shoot, that's it. I'm not going to meet my goal. I've already I haven't met my goal. I'm done. But I wasn't. It was more of an honor. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to lay down. I'm going to take a nap. And during that time of honoring the process, the breakthrough came. So yeah, we are fascinating creatures, we human beings.
I'm reminded of Thomas Edison. A lot of people said that Thomas Edison was a genius. And he was another one. A few weeks ago, I talked about Albert Einstein and how he did his meditations, and many of them during the day, which a lot of people could have construed that as napping, half the day. Mm-hmm. But Thomas Jefferson did the same thing. I don't remember what he called it, whether he called it meditation or not, but he did a form of meditation. And his form of meditation, he realized that he couldn't be going all the time, that he had to pull back and give himself a chance to open his mind and to recept his mind, to create that reception and to clear it out. So, but he had the same problem that Albert Einstein had, and that was that he couldn't wake himself up. So he had to devise a way. He had to devise a way where he could get those theta waves. I think that's what it was. He was really into the word theta waves, and these scientists, they like to get really scientific with their jargon so they don't sound all foo-foo, right? So he would lie down, and while he would lie down, he'd create a fist, and he would lock his elbow, and he'd be lying on the floor or the bed, wherever he was, and he would balance it in such a way that he could relax, but his arm was locked up. It was locked straight up, perpendicular to his body. And what would happen was that was just enough to keep him awake, but he was able to still go off into that meditative trance. And right to fall off and fall asleep, his arm wake himself up.
What happened? Oh, I punched myself in the face.
Punched myself in the face. But it's funny. A lot of people use the word genius, and Albert Einstein, he insisted he was not a genius. He just understood the balance. He understood the balance of the mind. He understood the training of the mind, the mindfulness that you need that to make that perfect instrument, to make it work for yourself.
Wow.
One thing that I've noticed within doing this creativity series, I've wanted to do this for years because I've gone on my own trip. I've traveled the world. I've done all these things, and I never quite, even though I have a college education, I never quite valued that higher education the way other people in my family do. There are some highly educated people in my family with PhDs, with medical degrees, with law degrees, you name it. It's in my family. And then there's me. And I used to beat myself up over that because Americans, again, get attached to paper. But it's not just the piece of paper, it's the experience. It's how we are able to discipline ourselves, to do the practice, to learn something, to go. I went and I immersed myself in Japan, in Japanese culture. And I came back here trying to get a job as a teacher. They wanted to hire me. They knew that I was fluent. They knew all this stuff. But because I didn't have that piece of paper, the state did not want me to have that job.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, somehow we found a way around it. I got the job. But it's funny how many ways that we limit ourselves in that way. So it's always good to go back to that childlike essence and that openness and realize that we are interconnected with the divinity, with the divine, and that those are the things that bring about our creative force that is our birthright. As just to finish up what I was going to say there is that I have been, since starting this project, I've been doing some reading and just researching and seeing, well, what are other people saying about creativity? And it's amazing how many people, how many books, and how many teachers always go back to dictionary description of what the word creativity is. And it is always about creating something, mm-hmm. making something from nothing, creating an original something that was not there before, like a piece of art. They always seem to go back to the art of it or the ingenuity of it with science. And I want to reiterate what I said at the very beginning of this. What I kept seeing in all of these books and all of these teachings is so many paragraphs that would begin with, a creative person is, a creative person does, a creative person. And when you say a creative person, that means as opposed to a non-creative person, which Correct. Is not true. That's bullshit, because mm-hmm. we are creation itself. We all yes. are, no matter what we are. If you are a couch potato sitting there smoking and drinking and watching TV all day, you have created your environment.
A divot in the couch.
You're still a creative force.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, you're very good at creating divots in couches.
Yes.
Yes.
Seriously, I know this is a joke, but it's not really a joke.
It's not a joke. It's not a
very
joke.
And if you don't like what you're creating, create something different.
It's that mirror, yes, going right back. Mirror what it is that you want rather than complain about what you don't want.
Yes. And yeah, I'm not going to go down that road. Yes. It's about taking back our personal power. It's about being able yes. to see that we aren't complete yet, that the journey is still going on, that our script gets to be written however we want to, if we choose to. If we don't choose to, stop complaining about it. If you choose to, get up and do something different, even if it means writing the words, I want to do this differently. Great. Put that energy into it. Start doing something differently, because the power lies within you, within each and every single solitary one of us. We are amazing creatures of immense capabilities that so many parameters and boxes have been built around, some of our own doing, some of our culture's doing, some of society's doing. And the bottom line is that creative force within each and every one of us is longing to be set free.
Yeah. Yeah. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yes. Yes.
So from that, I would like to go back to the screenshot and bring up the exercises for today.
Yay.
Reset creativity 7. A receptive. Some of them from last week. And treating them as children with no judgment. It's kind of fun. I almost took that out of there today, but then I thought, well, we are going to be talking about whether it's good or bad, and treating it as kindly as you would treat a child, with no judgment. And the same with ourselves, is we can treat ourselves as children. Notice how you can go out with a child on a beautiful day and they will just be enjoying, and right now is fall and autumn and the leaves are starting to turn, and about collecting beautiful leaves and jumping in piles of leaves and bringing that childlike essence. Whereas we, I only have 15 minutes, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and what do I don't know if there's so much garbage just going on there. So we need to recognize that present moment. We need to breathe, feel it, find that balance, and find it through play. Find it through some sort of child's play. Remember some of the things that you used to do before you were afraid to do them, and run with that. Have that downtime, because every person that we think is a genius, they may not be geniuses at all. But what they have done is they have found the secret to tapping into the creative force for any of their goals, and that's why everything they touch is a Midas touch. So in order to do that, though, we can't just think about it and hope that it happens. We have to set a schedule for it. It's changing those little habits. When we're mindful, we catch ourselves when we want to say something that's negative, or allow our frustration to take handle and run with it. Instead of doing that more and more, because we are changing our habits, we're grabbing on, and I don't mean to, we can't change overnight. No, we can't change fast. We can change fast, just like the tide. You know, our breath does change fast. When we breathe in, that crucial split second where we breathe out is a very important turning point. So all of these things, when we start putting together all these changing tiny little bad habits and praising ourselves for letting them go, even if it's just for today, and setting a schedule for tomorrow for my meditation or my writing or whatever exercise. I may want to take a bike ride out to the lighthouse. I may want to practice the piano. But it's doing all of these things on a regular basis. Whatever any of your goal is, it's those tiny habits that are the building blocks toward blossoming your ideas fast. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, when we have a schedule and we're doing something every day, it gets to a point where these things that we used to look at as pains in the butt mm-hmm. and things that we really didn't want to do, and then we find that when we actually do them, they're not so bad. Yep. It's always a lot easier to write than to think about writing. It's always yes.
Yes. And interesting you would say that, because the morning pages is one that it took me a while to make peace with. And it's only recently, and I've been doing this for a couple of years, mm-hmm. and it's only been recently where I really get the value of writing out what's going on in my head. Because the number of times that the solution has shown up, or the space for the solution to show up, has directly been linked back to the time of doing the pages. So yes, it's understanding and making an agreement with yourself to do the things that you know are going to bring you to the place that you want to be, even though in the moment you may not actually want to do them.
Right.
Because that not wanting to actually do them sometimes can also be called self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm going to come back. These practice exercises are available to you when you watch it, and you know what, I haven't forgotten you, because it's something very important that I want you to give an announcement on, Jennifer. But there's one last thing that I want to point out that is an exercise, and I didn't write it down, but I will for next week, and I'll give it for next week's. Is if you take a dollar bill, all right, and you look at the back of that dollar bill, and you know, everyone knows all the Americans, we all know in American stuff we have the eye on the top of the pyramid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wherever that came from, we won't get into that secret society. But if you use this as an example, and you look around and imagine that your third eye is that tip of the pyramid, and that this is the energy that is all surrounding. And when you have this openness, the openness of the funnel, that the creative energy, the divine energy comes down, and it comes to a laser point. That laser point where things happen. When all the energy is all over the place, when your energy is all over the place, you can't. When you bring things into focus, and when you bring all of the different working parts into work, then the machine is well oiled. And it's the same thing when you have sunlight everywhere, but when you concentrate it very strongly into a laser point, you can create fire from it.
Yes.
So here is your energy, and the way you bring it in, using that particular image, is very helpful in meditation or whenever you're starting anything, because it allows you to bring yourself into focus and then put out the thing that you want to put out.
Interesting. Good analogy. Good analogy.
Yeah. We've talked so much about the different, you know, all the stuff about the tightness and the anxiety, and how, well, you know, you need to let go of your anxiety and everything. But I don't know, and I'm sure people are watching us going, how can I let go of my anxiety? Well, I'm so happy. And we've been talking too about your new product. What is your new product, Jennifer?
It is actually Relieve Your Anxiety Naturally. And it came about from, one, not only having many friends who have reached out to me right after Robin Williams' passing on how to really be able to get a handle on their own anxiety and their own depression, and to be able to do it without taking drugs. And I had read an article in the LA Times that was talking about how the commonly prescribed medications for anxiety and depression were being linked to higher cases of Alzheimer's in elderly patients. And there was a line in the article that said that the medical community was aware that it was short-term duration that these medications were supposed to be prescribed for, 3 months max, and yet most of the people are on them for years without understanding that there is another way to deal with the anxiety. The doctors, and I am not a doctor, I don't play one on TV, don't even assume that I am one, and yet there are alternatives to dealing with your stress and anxiety that I see on a daily basis. That is where this product was birthed from.
You're not
I am. No, you're fine. I appreciate that. But I've got a lot of passion about this because there are so many people that are in pain and don't know how to deal with it other than taking the drugs. Well, that's what this product is about, is it teaches you how to use, and we go through, it's like a 48-minute video where we go into the very, very basics of meridian tapping. And I take you on ways of learning mindfulness and starting to really key into the changes in your body. And I take you through a couple of different scenarios that may seem really silly, But as you're tapping through them, you get the release, you get the aha moments, those, oh shit, I've never looked at it like that before. Well, you're right. And if I can catch it back here when it just starts as this little niggling in my stomach, before it gets to the point where I'm going, oh my God, I've got to take my medicine, you can start to retrain your system to actually go through life in balance. So I have created, this is that project that I put together in the last week, and I'm offering it to our viewers for $19, and that's it, because I feel so strongly about it. And it is truly at relieveyouranxietynaturally.com. And it is a very simple page. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I know this works.
Yeah, but I didn't finish saying, you know, we're of course we're not medical doctors, and you know, but what we are is we're traffic cops in a way, or a guiding light, as it were. In some way, we're giving basics here that are often overlooked.
Absolutely.
Yep. When I think about I mean, I was a high school teacher, and it broke my heart when I found out that the kids that were trying to commit suicide, that were right in my class, kids that I was having trouble with, you know, because they were so dark, they were all lost and everything. I found out that they had been taking antidepressants for years, and we're talking about 15-year-olds.
Right.
You know?
Yep. And then, yes.
And a lot of these techniques, the tapping techniques that you do, Jennifer. In fact, we even did a tapping technique today where, you know, they're doing whatever. People, when they see that for the first time, they think, oh yeah, it's psychosomatic. Well, it's very scientific, because you're dealing with the electromagnetic waves. It goes right into that, yeah.
And
so there is a scientific balance there.
Yes, and even if it is, I mean, it's not. Even if it is psychosomatic, if you get relief from your anxiety and your overwhelming stress, does it matter? Does it matter that it's psychosomatic? Does it matter that it's a placebo? No, it's not. And if it relieves your stress and anxiety, what's the difference between that and a sugar pill that the doctors will prescribe to you?
And all of those clinical trials tell you the same thing. There's years of clinical trials on all sorts of drugs that the same thing. People get they get a lot of good help just from the placebo, because it is a lot of it is our perception and our attitude.
Yes. And the end result is for relief of the stress and the anxiety, and to bring our body and our mind and our spirit into balance so that we can choose the direction of our path. And that is my biggest hot button. And so anyway, I will...
You know what, now that you said it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer, but we've got like 1 minute left, and I want to run right back to the screen share just very quickly for about 30 seconds. And just show everybody the last exercises that we have here, okay? The new exercise that we added today is set your schedule for your new habits. And if any of these things are the meditation, the writing, the exercise, if there are things that you haven't been doing lately, go back to your schedule again.
Bring your screen share up. We're not up. Bring your screen share up.
Oh, it's not there?
Nope, I can't see it.
You don't see it? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Never mind. I think I got lost. I think I suddenly got lost. I better go back. There we go. I didn't. Oh, here we go. Okay, I didn't. Maybe I didn't. You know what? It somehow froze, so I'm going to just forget about it.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
anybody that's watching it, it's on the video. Yeah, you can see it in the replay. Just go back. It's about 3/4 of the way through. We've got the exercises. Jennifer, you're going to take the RelieveYourAnxietyNaturally.com. This is a limited time offer. It's awesome that you're offering this to everybody at this low price.
Thank you.
And
Really
please,
excited.
everybody, ask us questions, leave comments, questions, feedback, so that we can answer any questions at all that you may have, or give us some feedback. That would be nice.
Absolutely, we always welcome it. And no, I think that's it. This has been awesome. Incredible amounts of information shared, and I just look forward to next week.
Awesome. Jennifer, as always, love you. Thank you very much. Everybody, all your viewers, thank you very much. Aloha to you. Lots of love. And hope to see you next week.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, aloha.